49ers won more games. Yeah, we're the world champs. By season's end, there was only one champion, and it was still the San Francisco 49ers, the first team to win back-to-back Super Bowls in 10 years.
So I grew up watching the San Francisco 49ers of the 80s and early 90s, and one of their coaches back then was a guy named Bill Walsh, who was kind of a genius of football. And I'm not really into professional sports anymore, but back at the time I really was. And one of the things I always heard about Bill Walsh that I thought was kind of genius, and a lot of people did, was that he would take time to study his own team, study the other team, and based on their strengths and weaknesses, he would script out the first 20 plays that his team was going to do, because he had a good sense, because of his research, what was going to be successful based on what his goals were. So that idea kind of always stuck with me, and I think it has something to do maybe with teaching and how we plan out the beginning of our own year. So what I want you to do is to take out the paper that's in front of you. It looks like this. Put your name on it. And while you're doing that, our goal is to try to collaborate with each other to think a little bit about how we can provide a successful space for our students. And just like Bill Walsh kind of scripted his first 20 plays, knowing that after 20 plays, maybe some of his assumptions would be incorrect and he might have to make some adjustments. But he definitely wanted to go in with a strong plan, knowing that once the game kind of got rolling a little bit, then some adjustment might be needed. So rather than trying to think about June right now, let's think about September and October and really try to make sure that we start off the year in a positive, successful way. So sitting in your classroom, that October Professional Development Day, what do we really want our students to have been able to experience in our classroom? And as Mr. Lynch said yesterday, feeling grace, feeling love, feeling rigor, and that happy urgency, not like a sad or unhappy urgency, but a happy urgency. Take a moment and tell me, what else would you like your students, while you sit in that October Professional Development Day, what is something specific that you would like your students to have experienced in your classroom? You can do that now. Now, once you have done that, I want you to read these two quotes I have always used as guiding principles in my planning, from Janet and Jenna. And I want you to think a little bit about what I wrote here. You can read that. And this equation that is another kind of guiding principle from Champs, which is the idea that expectancy, which is what you expect to happen, times the value, in other words, how much you think this is worth to you, right? What is the value of this thing I'm being asked to do? That if those two things create motivation. What I want you to do is kind of reflect a little bit on the part right here, these quotes, this equation, and what do you think that tells us, right? What does this tell us in terms of our planning for the classroom? Summarize that in your own words. All right. Now, before we get started today, I know some of you know these, some of you may not. These are some common Champs terms that we have traditionally used at CJ. There's others, but I wanted to make sure at least everyone had a chance to look at those. And in case it comes up in your group, you at least have something to reference. All right. So now, what is our goal today? What's going to happen in a few moments is you're going to go into these groups and you're going to have these different jobs. And you can kind of look over the jobs, what your job is. If you're not on there, I'm sorry, we'll get you to a group. If somebody's not there, you guys can figure that out, I'm sure. But what you're going to do in this group is you're going to look at these 6 categories that I have created in terms of things to think about in terms of planning a successful room. And I want you, as a group, just pick 2 or 3. You don't have to do all 6. And I want you to read what's in there, read some of the thoughts that I put in there, And then share with colleagues, listen to your colleagues, and take some notes on some interesting things that you hear, you want to remember, so that you can bring this paper back to your grade level meeting when you talk about champs, and maybe you can try to implement it. And maybe bring it back in October or whenever you have your grade level meetings, and talk about maybe there's something you want to add or switch up. So that's going to be your goal. That's going to be your activity. If you are finished before other people, you can start taking some little notes off to the side so you have something to share once you're in that group.